Okay, welcome to the Troy Planning Commission. This is our April 13th meeting, and please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers.
Here.
Mayor.
Here.
Mr. Wolke.
Here.
Mr. Titterington.
Here.
Mr. McGarry.
Here.
Mrs. Mahan. Here. Mr. Force.
Disseminated between ourselves and all the members, we have our March 23rd minutes that have been approved, that have been submitted. Are there any corrections to those minutes?
Move for approval.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, they are accepted. First matter to come before the commission is a historic district review on the 111 North Mulberry Street. The staff have a report.
Yes. This was tabled from the previous meeting. Do we need to remove that?
Let's, does anybody want to remove it from the table for further discussion today?
I'll move it off the table and back on.
Hey, we'll take it off the kick the table. and put it back on. Anybody want to support that motion?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now, staff, go ahead with the report, please.
The report is going to be basically what it was from last time, with the exception of the new information for the retaining wall that was discussed at last meeting. To refresh your memory, this location is just north of the Overfield Tavern Museum. They're looking at removing sections of some concrete that is aged and it'll become green space. Removing and replacing concrete steps, but with the item that was brought before us that tabled the motion was a 24-inch retaining wall that will be along in the front yard that will abut the back of the sidewalk. I've included some new photos in your packet to show the front of the structure and basically where that retaining wall would go. There should also be a description of the type of stone that will be used, that the base or the foundation of the house will be stuccoed, so that way you'll no longer see what you see in those pictures of the front of that house. It'll be a nice retaining wall that just comes out to the back of the sidewalk. It'll have decorative plants and flowers and whatnot that they choose to put in that. Beyond that, that would be the only addition from the previous meeting when this was tabled. Everything has been reviewed for compliance with all requirements, with the exception of the design you may impose here.
Any questions of staff?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr.
just to clarify, so you're saying that from the sidewalk back to the house,
Yes.
at the sidewalk, there will be a 24-inch wall built. It will be backfilled with topsoil to bring it up to the 24-inch level.
I don't know that it'll be all the way to the 24-inch level. They want, I'm sure, to leave room for plantings.
You guys are saying 24 inch. It says 23 here. Is that a big deal? On the agenda, it says
It's 23 where?
on the agenda, install 23-inch retaining wall in front of
Yeah, it may have been a typo. It is 24.
I thought the report said 24.
It's 24.
And you're saying that in that front yard, it's not going to be grass behind the retaining wall, it's going to be what?
It'll be whatever they choose to put, decorative plantings, landscaping, whatever they choose to plant at this point. I've not been given any information as to the exact plantings that they will put in that.
Okay, but that's the front yard, it's typically grass, especially at the sidewalk.
Typically not required, yes. It usually is grass. Most likely it will be grass, but they will probably want to do some sort of flowers, things of that nature, and that does not require planning commission approval.
That's what, about a 3.5 feet? After you put the wall in, it's like 3.5 feet, right? 2.5. Yeah, I mean that's probably shrubs or something like that. Right.
2.5, what do you mean, depth?
From the foundation to the edge of
sidewalk.
the edge of the wall.
So the front yard is only 2.5 feet
Yeah.
deep. Got it. Okay.
the side of the house.
I mean, I presume they would probably, hopefully, they'll put landscaping in.
Yes.
Very good.
Any other questions of staff? Commission want to take any action on this?
Recommend approval.
Okay, this is our decision, not a recommendation. Is that making you change anything?
Pardon me?
This is our decision. We're not making any recommendation. Is your motion to approve or to recommend?
No, I'm sorry, recommend approval, or no, motion to approve, I'm
Motion to
sorry.
approve. And Mr. Wolke is your second still. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Wolke,
Yes.
Mr. Titterington,
Yes.
Mr. McGarry,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
Mr. Cappers.
Yes.
Approved.
Next matter to come before the commission is a rezoning application for 16 South Short Street. The staff has a report.
Yes, we do. Kimberly Yardley, agent for Jeffrey Tudor, who's the owner of 16 South Short Street, is applying for Planning Commission to consider rezoning 16 South Short Street from B2 General Business District to R5 Single Family Residential. While the property is currently zoned B2 General Business District, it has been used as a single-family residence since before 1993, and zoning-wise is considered to be a legal non-conforming use. The property is .09 acres in the first block of South Short Street on the west side of the street. The surrounding zoning districts include R5 Single-Family Residential to the south and B2 General Business District to the north, east, and west. There is a map attached in your packet that does show the surrounding zoning districts. Basically, Ms. Yardley has a buyer for this property, but what has happened, the buyer is running into some issues in obtaining a mortgage because the mortgage company is asking the city to provide something that says if the structure is destroyed more than 60%, that they can build the structure back as it is, which they can't. So the rezoning would then resolve that issue. It would bring the property in line with the surrounding residential properties, bring it in line with what it's been used for since 1993, and then allow the buyer to get a residential mortgage as opposed to a commercial mortgage, which is more expensive. So due to the straightforward nature of the rezoning request and the fact the City Council is required to hold a public hearing if the request proceeds, staff does not feel that a public hearing at Planning Commission is warranted. Staff does recommend approving the rezoning from B2 General Business District to R5 due to the area has the same zoning to the south as the proposed zoning classification. The proposed rezoning is consistent with the intent and purpose of the City of Troy zoning code, and the rezoning would eliminate a non-conforming use.
Shannon, is this the old Jim Newell CPA building where he used to have his practice? Do you know?
I'm not from Troy,
Okay.
so I don't know.
Do you know?
I believe it was an insurance company. Before 1993, that's what I'm being told.
On the north side of the alley, immediately on the alley?
Yeah, like right on the alley. It does have a side entry door. And I was told prior to 1993, by quite a few years, was what I was told, that it was an insurance company. But it has not been used for an insurance company since at least 1993 when Mary Dreyer owned it, and then since it transferred over to Jeffrey Tudor, the existing owner, in 2004. So that's all I know as far as insurance. I don't know the name of the company or who owned it at that time.
I just wanted to identify the building. I think I've got an idea of which building.
I have a picture if that would help.
I think I've got it. Thanks.
It's a story and a half brick, right when you turn the corner on the right-hand side, right next to the alley.
Gotcha. Thank you. Do we have anything in writing from the actual owner of the building that they want to rezone?
I actually have a text on my text that says that she's wanting to know how the rezoning went, but
Is she in town?
no, she's in Texas now. They're transferring out of the area.
I'm sorry, I don't have anything in writing.
Any questions for Kim or staff?
Mr. Chair. So who signed the application for rezoning?
Ms. Yardley.
Okay, on behalf of the owner?
As their agent.
Okay. In the discussion, the first paragraph talks about the R5 district designed to accommodate single-family dwellings on lots with areas of at least 6,000 square feet per dwelling unit. You're saying in the next sentence that this parcel does not meet that requirement.
That's correct.
All right, so yet in the recommendations, you're saying that at the last bullet, the rezoning would eliminate a non-conforming use.
Use, not a non-conforming lot, but a non-conforming use.
It already is.
Because it is,
non-conforming lot.
It
it
currently
has been a
is.
single family, not a,
Right.
it's not been divided.
It's already non-conforming in the B2 district as well.
And the code allows us to change zoning districts even though with the new zoning, it does not meet the minimum square footage requirements.
Yes.
Any other questions of staff? The first matter to come before the commission is whether or not we want a public hearing on this matter.
I'll move that we not have a public hearing, but I guess I'm concerned that you've raised the point that the applicant is not actually, or the owner has not actually made the application.
One of the things that I would suggest is if we want to take an affirmative response to the application, that we do it conditioned upon receiving something in writing from the owner that they want the rezoning. Otherwise, the rezoning doesn't continue to be recommended to council.
I'm glad we have an attorney as the chairman.
I'll second Mr. Wolke's that we don't hold a public hearing.
Okay. Any further discussion on this motion? Keep in mind that affirmative response is that we would not have a public hearing. Please call the roll.
Mr. Wolke? Yes. Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion is passed, no public hearing.
The issue now comes before us is to the application for the rezoning itself.
Move that we approve we recommend the rezoning subject to receipt of paperwork attesting that the owner does in fact want the rezoning.
Do you want that just in writing, or would you like that notarized?
Just writing, I think. We typically, don't we accept an email too, or?
As long as the email address shows it's from the owner. Oh, yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Keep in mind that in the future, we prefer to have something in writing, not just an email. Okay? But in this case, all bets are off. Okay, any further discussion? There's a motion and support for the motion that we recommend to council the rezoning, subject to getting confirmation from the owner of the property that they want the rezoning. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Next on the agenda is the rezoning application for 532 Grant Street from M2 Light Industrial to OR1 Office Residential District. The staff have a report.
Yes, we do. And I'm going to start out backwards and tell you that I don't have anything from the owner in writing. But we also have the potential buyer, Jessica Meinsinger, here in the audience with us. Jessica is proposing to buy 532 Grant Street, which I believe is also known as 619 Lincoln. Currently, the property is zoned M2 Light Industrial, and she's requesting that the zoning of the parcel be rezoned to OR1 Office Residential. The property is a through lot with Grant Street located on the east side of the property and Lincoln Avenue located on the west side. The surrounding districts include R5 Single Family Residential, M2 Light Industrial District, and 2 lots south is a lot that is zoned OC1 Office Commercial District. There is a map included in your packet. The applicant has cited the reason for the proposed rezoning is to redevelop the current industrial property to upscale residential lofts. We believe there is a market for this type of housing as well as a significant need to repurpose older industrial buildings in keeping with the residential areas in which they exist. Currently, the building is vacant, but it was previously the home of Pro2 Respiratory Services. This area of the city is dominated by a mix of residential districts abutting industrial districts. And the mix of these uses stem from the distant past when the industrial zoning districts were established along the railroads. The zoning code describes the OR1 district as designed to accommodate a mixture of residential and office uses and act as a buffer zone between more intense uses versus the less intense uses in a residential district. OR1 limits commercial uses that are envisioned to prevent disruption in the existing residential neighborhoods, and the rezoning will protect the surrounding residences from the more intensive uses that are currently allowed in the M2. It is staff's opinion that the adjoining properties will benefit from the positive impact of the proposed rezoning. The proposed OR1 district permits the greatest flexibility to the reuse of the property. The comp plan, which is also included, figure 14.4, which is included in your packet, does show that the area to be predominantly residential with light industrial districts mainly to the south. Basically, she's proposing to convert this building from an industrial building to a residential type use with a possibility of some office use, light office use, if she would choose to do that. But it's my understanding it would be mostly for residential, upscale residential loft type units. Because City Council is required to hold a public hearing, we're not requesting Planning Commission to hold a public hearing. And we do recommend approval based on the area has a similar buffer zone to the south of the proposed zoning classification. The proposed rezoning is consistent with the intent and purposes of the City of Troy zoning code, and the rezoning would create a more effective buffer to the residential zones adjacent to this location, and it would convert an empty industrial building into something useful.
Directly, you provided us with an aerial map, thank you very much. I can see where the building is on the aerial. Directly south of the building, there is a parking lot that doesn't appear to serve anybody except for this building. Is this a part of this transaction? I know it's not part of the application.
No, that parking lot actually belongs to, I believe it's Hobart or Hobart Brothers. I'm not sure which one, I forget. But it's not part of this transaction. That's the reason why on the zoning map you'll see the black outline. Mm-hmm. That's the only parcel that we're talking about.
And we don't have any problem with the amount of parking spaces serving this piece of property?
Not because we don't have a redevelopment plan. Mm-hmm. Parking has not been brought up as how many required spaces that they would have. It's just strictly they would like to rezone the property to OR1. Okay. We do have a section in our code that does allow some off-site parking within a certain distance away that depending on how many residential uses in this building could be a possibility for them. But at this moment, it's just strictly for rezoning purposes only.
Any other questions of staff?
I know the area quite well, and it would be a good use of a property that exists today, and the future development possibilities may still come with parking and all that, but right now you're just asking for to be rezoned.
Yes.
I have no trouble. I know what I think the potential is better.
Yeah, you want to say anything?
I would clarify, in this particular case, as part of our purchase agreement with the property owner, rezoning is one of the contingencies, and their agreement to cooperate in any rezoning for our intended purposes is required. Mm-hmm. So we can also get a letter of support from the property owner, but that's included in our purchase agreement with them. So we have an inspection period for the building, which is just over 25,000 square feet. Rezoning is one of the contingencies. We're conducting an EPA Phase 1 on the property. We have an architect who's starting design drawings for us. So that's where we are. But in order for the property to really be feasible, we couldn't develop it for our intended purposes under industrial. So the rezoning needs to occur in order for us to move forward.
Any questions of the applicant while she's got the podium? Jessica, thank you. Any further discussion concerning this issue? First matter to come before the commission then would be to whether or not we want to have a public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we not have a public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion and support. Any further discussion concerning this motion? Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Motion passed, no hearing.
Now the matter concerning the rezoning.
I move that we recommend, or, no, we make the decision.
We recommend the council.
Oh, good. I was right the first time. I was just waiting. So, no, I make a motion we recommend to council the rezoning request as submitted.
Subject to receiving evidence of the owner's support.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so that's your motion?
Yes.
Is there support for the motion?
A second.
Okay, any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Motion is passed.
Next item on the agenda is a discussion of the comprehensive plan. And the last time we had chapters 2 and 3 given to us. The agenda says chapters 2 through 4. Did I get chapter 4?
We actually just wanted to see if anybody was reading the agenda. It was only chapter 2 and 3.
Okay.
Oh, see, I'll have to.
Oh, yours says 2 and 3. Mine says 2 through 4. Okay. So how do you want to take this? How do you want to take the discussion?
We can kind of go through what we've done. What we did for Chapter 2, it's a community profile. We've made some changes with new information. They should be highlighted on your paper. We kind of thought we would kind of open it up for just a discussion if you had questions where we came up with information, how we got it, recommendations, up to the commission how they wanted to proceed.
In my review of these, it appeared that the changes you made were fact-based, and there's really not a whole lot of discussion on facts unless we wanted to go ahead and add additional facts or take away some of the facts you put in. And I didn't see anything in there that would be detrimental, I don't believe. Does anybody else have any comments?
I guess sometimes since there's nothing really significant, I'll go with nitpicking. And I'm not suggesting you change this, but just so you know that I was listening when Terry Kirk was describing the history of Detroit. Overfield Tavern is the oldest known existing building, but Terry has indicated that there may be an older building within another existing structure. Again, I'm not suggesting you change it, but I was listening when Terry was describing the history.
Well, I think you get the nitpicking crown. That's fine. You're it. You're the man. What other comments you have? Like?
Well, a little further on, and maybe this is something that more suitable for Patrick to comment on, but I believe you have now 9 city councilmen?
Yes.
Rather than 7?
Council members. Should we not update that, Jeff?
And what
I
page are you
thought we
on?
did. I'll definitely make sure it does get
2.6.
updated.
2.6 on page 2.6.
It says city council is the legislative authority of the city consisting of 7 voting members. And also
Two alternates.
an affirmative vote of a majority of council members is necessary to adopt any motion. Not true. In some cases, it requires a supermajority.
I still can't find the 9 council members.
That's on page 2.6, about halfway down. Affirmative
Oh,
vote.
7, I see it.
I got it.
Yeah.
Again, if there's suspension of the rules or emergency or overriding the planning commission, that requires more than a majority of council members.
Good point. And that's not nitpicking, by the way. That's good. That's good stuff.
That's all I have on chapter 2.
Now, mine is nitpicking.
Go ahead. Jim, what do you have?
Page 2-6, the top on the restaurants, this is just kind of semantics. I'm just recommending the first sentence read downtown Troy and other commercial areas all offer numerous dining opportunities, period. And then just get rid of that last sentence. It just sounds better.
Okay, any other comments on chapter 2? I'm going to ask a question. I don't know this, but the last paragraph on page 2.7, above community partnerships, it says the Board of Park Commissioners and the Recreation Board under statutory law are boards that operate independently from all other city offices. I know the Board of Park Commissioners is statutory authority. Is their board statutory, or is that by ordinance?
I think it's statutory, I believe.
It's all controlled by statute, just in different ways. The rec board, I believe, was passed by a vote way back when, which is part of the statutory process, which is different than the park board.
Gotcha. Thank you. Anything else on chapter 2? Moving to chapter 3.
Under the treasurer, the last sentence starts out in Troy, the treasurer. 2.6, that was all about Troy, so I don't know, we have to say in Troy.
Oh, okay.
Okay, on page 3.3-4, at the bottom of the page, we talk about 1950 to 2012. You mean 2014? At the bottom of the page 3.4.
Should be 2010, shouldn't it?
Yeah, census information. There's two types of information that was used. MVRPC is the one who gave us the population demographics, and they used the 2010 census, and then some of the information was updated later, which is known as the 2012, I think it's called like ACS. So we tried to coordinate with what's on the chart with the actual information used. So some of it may be 2010, some of it may be 2012, depending on the information we used.
Yeah. And on the chart above, it looks like somebody didn't do the math when it came to estimated 2014. You've got percentages for Piqua, Sydney, and Tip, but not for the Miami Valley Valley region, and not for Troy, and not for Miami County. Again, it just looks like somebody didn't do the math.
You mean the percentage change?
Yeah.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. The heading of that table, 3.2 at the bottom, you've got 1950 to 2012, and yet at the same time you've got no 2012 line item. You've got an estimated 2014 line item.
No, we can change it.
Anything else on chapter 3? Okay. When will you be getting us chapter 4?
We will hand that out the next meeting. We have most of them updated. We just didn't want to take too many at one time, so we thought we'd do 2 at a time.
Sure.
And then have the review process and move on.
Okay. Does staff have anything else to do for the commission today?
Nothing further, thank you.
Commission members want to discuss anything further? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there support for the motion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.